Three fire-red monsters were fighting on the street. According to the experts upstairs, the military has named these monsters red armored beetles. They belong to the insect family and have extremely strong defense and attack abilities, as well as highly corrosive saliva. Fortunately, there were tanks and armored vehicles on the street. After paying a heavy price, it seemed that the military killed the three red armored beetles. However, there was no victory cheer or desperate cry. Everything returned to calm. From the next day, the supply of food in the community began to decrease rapidly. The experts upstairs worriedly told Andrew that due to the massive attacks by scarab beetles in various places, the transportation of supplies was no longer safe and normal. It is even feared that the military will eventually abandon this place. It is said that these beetles keep coming out from somewhere nearby, and their numbers are increasing. The military can no longer control them. The pessimistic remarks of the experts upstairs quickly came true. About 7 to 8 days later, red armored beetles started appearing frequently around the area. The Dark Age has arrived. People now refer to the past sunny days as the Sunshine Era, and the current days as the Dark Age. Behind Andrew's building in the community, according to the calculation of the Sunshine Era, it should be late at night. There were screams of suffering, followed by the sharp cries of red armored beetles. Initially, the military came to deal with such incidents, but as time passed, they stopped coming. The cries of red armored beetles could be heard from time to time. Shanghai was no longer a safe place. Crisis lurked everywhere. Andrew spent night after night in cultivation with trembling nerves. Soon, the first batch of troops from the military began to withdraw and appeared on the streets. With the protection of numerous tanks and armored vehicles, a long convoy of private cars followed the army, slowly driving away. According to the experts upstairs, the first few batches of evacuees were important figures who were protected by elite forces. However, they did not know where they would retreat to specifically. Perhaps the military had a better base. A week later, the soldiers who delivered food to the community no longer came. The security forces maintaining order also became fewer and fewer. The situation immediately became chaotic. The wife of the expert upstairs almost got raped at the doorstep, but thanks to Andrew threatening the strong man with a gun, it was narrowly avoided. The expert upstairs was very grateful to Andrew and also told him a secret. It was said that in another 3 days, the last batch of people and their families, who were protected by well-equipped elite soldiers, would evacuate. Due to certain reasons, the expert upstairs was temporarily included in the evacuation list. Although it was the lowest level list, he still obtained 3 spots for family members. Unfortunately, he happened to have 3 family members and couldn't give them to Andrew. Andrew knew that he didn't qualify for special treatment from the military. 3 days later, a family on the 3rd floor, who had saved the daughter of a wealthy businessman, received a reward from the businessman. They, along with the expert upstairs family, obtained the qualification for evacuation protection. Although Andrew believed that it was his family's ancient book that truly saved the woman, he didn't dare to say it to anyone. Of course, others might not believe it either. However, it seemed that this businessman still had a bit of conscience. But Andrew gave up the idea of seeking help, as explaining might bring him even more trouble. However, what Andrew didn't expect was that the evacuation operation on the 3rd day was severely leaked. As a result, the heavily armed military vehicles were blocked by a large number of ordinary people, after moving only a short distance in the dark. These people felt that the military had abandoned them, and were indignant at this unfair treatment. The streets were congested with a large crowd, angrily condemning the military's discriminatory policies. Andrew did not go downstairs. He was very worried about the red armored beetles that could appear at any time. He opened the small steel plate on the window, and now it was completely blocked below. The leading military convoy has already passed several streets. From his house, he could only see various vehicles blocked behind. Those angry crowds who did not have evacuation quotas even threw things at the military vehicles to express strong protests. According to the expert upstairs, the headquarters had issued an order that any person who hindered the military's mission could be shot on the spot without reporting to higher authorities. This was what they called severe punishment in chaotic times. However, when the 126th Regiment encountered a situation where tens of thousands of people surrounded them, even the military command in charge did not dare to order shooting. There were too many people, all ordinary civilians. No one dared to give this command, and the reports quickly reached the headquarters. Andrew heard a man's voice from a distance, amplified by a loudspeaker, shouting, "Comrades! Comrades! Please listen to me. I am Qin Gang, the political commissar of the 126th Regiment. Please rest assured The headquarters will absolutely not abandon any comrades. The military's withdrawal plan definitely includes all of you. Please believe me, you're talking nonsense. Nonsense. You all have left, so what kind of withdrawal? They are humans, aren't we humans? Is your people's army a minority army? The crowd was excited and not affected at all. Qin Gang raised his voice and shouted, "Comrades, do not be deceived by some lawless elements. The military will absolutely not abandon any of you. I, Qin Gang, am willing to stay and evacuate with the last group. Please trust me. There are still a large number of troops on the front lines. We are not the last batch. The evacuation needs order. Otherwise, it will be prone to monster attacks. We must ensure minimal losses. Don't listen to this bastard's nonsense. Why should those officials with money leave first while we leave later? In this day and age, money is useless. Having money is meaningless. It's just waste paper now. What do you know? People with money all have connections. They have good relationships with government officials. Under these connections, we, ordinary people, are nothing. Let the bugs eat us all. Damn it. The situation was extremely chaotic, and there was no sign of the crowd dispersing. On the contrary, more and more people gathered. A soldier who was highly nervous accidentally fired a shot, causing an explosion in the crowd. Someone has been killed. The army is killing civilians. Let's fight them. Qin Gang turned to his subordinates angrily and said, "Who the F*** fired the shot? I'll execute him." The soldier who fired the shot had already been engulfed by the surging crowd. Just as those people were about to rush towards the military vehicles, someone suddenly screamed loudly, "Insects! Insects! Monsters! Monsters! 1, 2, 3. At least 50 to 60 fiery red armored beetles were swiftly approaching along the walls of the buildings on both sides. The entire crowd was dumbfounded. The crowd that was almost rioting just now immediately scattered and ran away. More than 50 red armored beetles, and they didn't run. Unable to use communication, the commander of the 126th Regiment shouted loudly through the loudspeaker, "Prepare for battle. 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion, 7th Battalion, heavy machine guns, get ready to sweep. Prepare rockets, prepare artillery." With the roar of heavy machine guns and the whistling of rockets, the crowd trampled on each other as they fled towards the nearest residential area. Under the fierce firepower, the red armored beetles still advanced. Apart from a few that were hit and sent flying by rockets, the others only had a few more pits or holes on their shells due to the heavy machine gun strikes. The red armored beetles didn't suffer much damage. When they mercilessly cut into the crowd like death gods, the horrifying screams immediately resounded. The agile red armored beetle easily evaded a rocket attack and a tank cannon attack, rushing into the military vehicle formation. It stood on top of a tank and immediately spewed green liquid from its mouth, quickly corroding the tank's exterior. This red armored beetle let out a loud shriek, bursting with red light. With its legs and pincers like knives, it tore open the tank's corroded exterior and bit a tank soldier, who was resisting with a pistol, killing him instantly. Andrew greatly admired the fighting spirit of these soldiers. If he were one of those tank soldiers, he would probably have been scared and only knew how to run away. Taking a deep breath, he immediately sealed the ice element symbol on the crossbow he had bought at a high price 3 months ago. According to the annotations in the ancient book, this modified crossbow could use the elemental energy of nature to shoot out ice-cold arrows with tremendous power, perfect for countering fiery monsters like the red armored beetles. It was a pity that he didn't know what kind of monster would appear at that time, so he wasted a lot of elemental energy making the fire element symbol, which was not as effective as the ice element symbol. That's why he rushed to make the ice element symbol these past 2 days. He urgently needed to seal the element symbol onto a weapon because he now had 3 red beetles following the crowd heading towards building No. 8, and they were getting closer to his building. Unless the ancient book shines again, the 3 red armored beetles will definitely catch up with the crowd. Andrew had no idea when the ancient book would shine again, so he couldn't rely on it. He could only rely on what he had prepared these past few days. If he fought the insects up close, unless the ancient book shines again, Andrew's chances of survival would be 0, so he must defend himself outside the door, and a modern crossbow was the best choice.